Welcome to the Missouri Baptist University Football Coaches Show. I'm Harry Schrader, head coach Jason Buryanek, and first of all, congratulations on the big win. Tell us a little bit about the key ingredients. What went into that victory?
Well, it was a good team win. That was something we had talked about, I think, every week on this show, and we've talked about it with the team and with going into training camp, is just getting our team to play as one unit. Offense, defense, and special teams all clicking at the same time, and I think that was a big key for us on Saturday, is that all three phases of the game really played consistently well and in kind of the level that we feel like we can play on a week-to-week basis.
Kendall Davis goes for over 200 yards on the ground. Talk about him and about your offensive line, how they mesh together.
Yeah, going into the week, we thought that there were some things they gave us in the run game, and Coach Williams has been kind of waiting for a week like that where we could get the run game going. I thought the offensive line did a fantastic job. Kendall, he just runs hard. You know, he's just a tough kid, tough runner. Same with Austin Schultz, all those guys that get the ball. But the offensive line did an excellent job blocking for him all day, and Kendall did his part as well. He broke some tackles and made some great runs.
You talked about all three phases, and one of the things that's very different about your team this year is the return game. You're getting real positive yardage in the return game. Talk about that.
Yeah, we really made in the offseason, especially in the summer, really made a commitment to improving our special teams. That was a phase that we really have never been that strong at, outside of Tyler Hawk, who we were talking about before we came on air, and he's been Mr. Consistent there. But the rest of our return game, you know, our kickoff coverage team hasn't always been great, and that's been something we put a lot of emphasis on. When you can change field position because of a punt return or a kickoff return, it really gives your team some momentum and gives your offense a great chance of starting out well. So kudos to Coach Kern, who is in charge of kickoff return, and obviously Devin Griffin, who we have back there, has made some great returns, and then Coach Bowden is in charge of punt return, and I think Keenan has done a really good job back there as well. So I had the one little mishap early in that game, which we'd love to avoid, but overall they've done a really good job.
And what's the secret to your snapper, Kraus, making the snap? That's critical. And then he's down there half the time making the tackle too.
Yeah, Andrew does a great job. He's a high-effort kid. You know, he's a guy that's just a fun guy to coach. Really a walk-on, so to speak. It really didn't recruit him that heavily. He transferred in from St. Louis Community College, where he was taking some classes, and decided he wanted to play football again. But he's a farm kid from down not too far south of St. Louis here, but just a hard-working kid. He brings it every day, and he's done a great job in covering those kicks. And also DeMonte Johnson has done a great job on the wing as well, getting down there. So both those guys are just high-effort, high-energy guys.
Your defense gives up a lot of points, but you had to be pleased with their effort and some of the turnovers you were able to create. Talk about the defensive side.
Well, I thought for 3 quarters we played as good defensively as I think we ever have. You know, we gave up a couple, but really, you look at the first half, a lot of the 17 points that St. Ambrose had was as a result of us. You know, we muff a punt, they get a field goal, we had a pick 6, and then we had some penalties that continued drives and gave them an opportunity to break a 50-yard run there. So outside of that, I thought our defense played extremely well. The fourth quarter, I think fatigue started playing a role a little bit. We had some guys not execute at the level that we need to execute to finish the game the way that we really know we can. But overall, I thought they played a pretty good game.
Let's turn to our attention to this week's game. Siena Heights comes in, and it's a long road trip. That makes it more difficult. But talk about how you guys match up against Siena Heights.
Well, they're a good football team. You know, they're a little bit up and down, is kind of unsure as to really who they are.
Because they've beaten some good teams, but then they've lost some games that you kind of scratch your head.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm going to attribute that. You know, they started off with a Division II school in the first week of the season, and then played Olivet. And I think that might have been a game where Olivet is not a program that's really been that successful over the years. But I think they're a lot better, just looking at some of their scores and what they're doing in the league. They're a lot better this year under this is a second year for their head coach there. And I think he's really getting them going in the right direction. So, you know, I don't know if it was maybe a little bit of a week 1 hangover that they had, or maybe overlooked them a little bit to get to week 3. But regardless, they start 0-2, and then, like you said, they bounce back and beat a really good Robert Morris team and a really good St. Francis team out of Joliet. So I think that they kind of got their legs under them, so to speak. So I think it'll be a tough contest for us, but one that we definitely can get in and make some things happen.
They're like you. They throw it and they run it in a pretty balanced way. Is there one of those two things you maybe think you have a better opportunity to stop, or you better stop?
Well, they are very balanced. I think when you look on film, the thing we have to stop is their pass game. You know, I think they have some really talented wide receivers out there, and they're, for all intents and purposes, 4 deep out there. And then they throw a tight end in the game who can play as well. So I think the secondary, we've talked to them about all week, that they're going to have to rise to the challenge, and our linebackers and defensive line, they're going to have to get pressure on the quarterback when we can. But that's, to me, what we're going to have to stop if we want to beat them. They like to take shots downfield, and over the past couple of years, the deep ball has hurt us when we've played Siena Heights. So that's kind of where we're focusing our key. But obviously, just like every week, if you don't stop the run, it can be a long day. And I was talking to Coach Williams last night. Anytime a team can run on you, it really rips your heart out. So we've got to be pretty ready to go in both phases of the game. But our corners and our safeties are going to have to be dialed in and ready to compete all day.
As we record this, it's See You at the Pole Day across the nation. Kids at college campuses, high schools and all that, gathering at their high school or college flagpoles and praying. On this same day, Scandal is right across college basketball. And you talk a little bit about just what coaches are trying to do, guys like you that are trying to do to actually impact young men's lives rather than maybe getting rich off of those young men's backs.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the best things that I like about small college athletics is that the corruption isn't there in the same way. You don't have the money flying around, and obviously, you know, from our perspective, when you walk into a Division I facility and you look at all the things that they have, or, you know, University of Alabama, their weight room or their locker room, whatever it is, even my alma mater, they just built a $160 million facility that's largely for football, and it's beautiful. And you walk in there and there's a movie theater and a pool table and all kinds of stuff in the locker room, you know. But obviously those things are nice to have. We'd love to give those to our athletes, but the reality is that you have that at the really major D1 schools, and the rest of the one FCS schools, Division II, Division III, you really got kids that love the game, you know, and there's not the same money there. There's not the same investment from sponsorships and pressure to win and stuff. But that's what I love about the small college atmosphere is just getting a chance to really pour into guys and develop them as young men. So that we're blessed to be able to do what we do.
But you could see, you played at a big-time college football program, you could see where the temptation or the pressure to have to compete and have to succeed would really affect maybe a coach's motivation.
Well, without a doubt, you know, I think we're all, as coaches, competitive people. At the highest level, you have coaches getting fired after 2 or 3 years because they're not winning at a high enough level, or you know, some of the major programs, you have coaches that are getting fired because they're not competing for conference championships on a regular enough basis. So there's a lot of pressure to win, and what's going on is you see this. You know, the reality is, if you're going to win, you need the players to do it. You know, you can have great coaches, but you got to have the players. And so there's so much competition for the top players. And really, it does have a trickle-down effect. You know, I think even at our level, we see guys that maybe want more of the gear or the facilities and that kind of stuff. And all of that trickles down to our level some. It puts pressure on us to compete with scholarship money and stuff like that. So it definitely makes a difference. It definitely puts a lot of stress and pressure on us. But, you know, that's also something that, you know, when you get into this profession, that you're going to have that type of stress and pressure. And it's a little bit less at our level. But so that allows us to focus in on the guys a little bit more.
First road game in a while, Siena Heights on Saturday. The Spartans with a 1-game winning streak. I'm Harry Schrader. That's the head coach, Jason Burianek. You've been watching The Coaches Show here on the Spartan Digital Network.